And then I crush it, tell my girl why I'm so bold. Until she trusts it. I'm like the world inside a snow globe. Rap for the memory. Painted murals on the smoke show.
So I'm talking to my homeboy. He's got no father. Okay, he's got no father in the picture. He didn't grow up with his father in the home. I didn't grow up with my father in the home. It's a normal concept. It's the theme throughout the ghetto. Didn't nobody grow up with their father in the home for whatever reason, right? So you start thinking, we're talking now, I'm 49, he's 49. We're talking about kids and raising kids, and the difference between the father you had and your imaginary father, right? I had an imaginary father growing up. Maybe you don't put the words like that, or you don't, the terminology isn't that, but my imaginary father was amazing, right? And that's the best thing you can do when you have no real father in the home. My imaginary father taught me how to shave. My imaginary father always wanted to play catch. My imaginary father taught me everything I wanted to know, even if a real father wouldn't, right? Like, my imaginary father was good at taking me to the mall and teaching me how to mac girls down, which no father usually does, because typically you're with the mother and that's not a good look. But the idea is, did you create this image of what you thought a father would do in your life as a young man or a young woman who didn't have a father, or maybe you had a suspect father at your house and you thought, if I had this dad, it would be different. My imaginary father helped me build a car, bought me a bike, taught me how to be tough, taught me how to be cool, taught me all of these things. And so we're going back and forth laughing at it, because he sort of understood the reality of that too. You're missing things. You see your friends, the friends that did have dads, and you think, oh my God, if I had that dad, everything would be perfect, which is completely untrue. But think about it. As an adult, I frame my parenting on my imaginary father. Now, obviously, that man was created by a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old or a 17-year-old or whatever, and there are some things that I just didn't understand, and so obviously it's not going to be a mirror image of what that concept was. However, if you're framing how you parent based on the father that you created, the father that you wanted, the father that you thought you needed, and then you incorporate on your road to manhood, we're talking about just dads here, right? On your road to manhood, you incorporate different lessons. I wish my father told me this. I wish my father told me that. And then now I have a whole tool belt of information, lessons, ideologies, beliefs and actions and all of those things that my imaginary father would have done. I'd say at the house a lot, man, I wish I was my own kid. I feel like I'm a great dad. I feel like I'd be awesome if I was my dad. Right? What it does, once you get inside your own move, right? And I've created the archetype for what I want a father to look like and to be like and to sound like. The discipline that I would have expected, that's what I try to project, right? And what that does is stabilize me. I'm able to sort of live in my own reality, live in the moment of parenting, and not succumb to comparable masculinity, which is like the worst thing you can do. A guy sees another guy, I'm better than him, I make more money. Well, then by that logic, you're automatically worse than the dude that makes more money than you, right? And then, so when you're able to compare your masculinity, and that's where you define your masculinity out of comparables, you're way outside of frame, dude. Like you're way outside the lines, because you're always going to lose at that point. If you're the best man just because you're better than the worst man, then you either have to surround yourself with suspect dudes, right, in order for you to be the better person, or you're always going to be a failure because you're surrounded by dudes that are doing better than you, right? Versus, what did you think you were supposed to be doing in the first place? Right, especially in this particular aspect. All we're talking about is fatherhood and your image of it, right? My image of fatherhood is how I determine my level of success. Well, one way that I determine my level of success, and it helps me avoid running around standing next to somebody else to gauge whether I'm having success, right? The only other gauge that I'm going to have is the children's reaction to me. Are you open with me? Are you reacting? Do you look for me when I'm gone? Are you learning some things? Are you better because I was here than if I wasn't? Sort of what are the tangible and intangible lessons that you've learned? I think about the ones in my camp, and like I say, I showed up 7 years old, 5 years old. And sure, there are marked differences and marked similarities between me and those kids, right? Like I said before, the 14-year-old gets frustrated, gets on her bike, rides off, clears her head, comes back. That's a me thing, right? That you don't get that from anybody else but me. And that's something that's obvious. But me being in the house prevents your real father, who has had a history of violent outlashes with the mother, from showing up and acting a fool, which then provides an environment where the kids are able to grow and thrive in safety and comfort. It's an intangible result of my being around in the house, being in their lives. Great, I'm an example, and now you're funnier because I'm funny. Well, maybe that's them, maybe that's their mom, maybe it's their dad, who knows? But have you had the right tools for your sports because of me? Have you had the right opportunities in the sports because of me? Have you been learning the right lessons, sportsmanship, when it's difficult, work through it. Also, you got to earn what you get because of me. Maybe, maybe. What credit do we take? But am I looking at the next guy and saying, well, I'm less than him or better than him because of what he's done and provided? Well, I can't do that. The only thing I can look at is, have I done the things that I expected from a father, that I imagined that a father would get? And that's what's going to let me know, am I on the right track? And are they responding to the things that I think that I'm supposed to be doing correctly? Am I on the right track? And that all goes to, are you able to suppress your own excitement and happiness and your own freedoms and desires in order to successfully parent the kids? Think about this. You're out here, you're 19, you accidentally have a child, you want to be in the child's life, that's wonderful, and you're the father. But now you're more mature and you meet another lady, and then you have kids with her, and now you have two different households, right? That's fun. Maybe you get divorced from the second lady, right? Well, do you have any business having a third household worth of children because it feels good? Do you have any business doing that? I don't know the answer. You're going to have to answer that yourself. But every time you're not in the home, your home takes a hit. So are you able to parent multiple children by multiple women in multiple different homes, maybe cities, maybe states? Are you able to effectively do those things? And did you think about that stuff prior to getting in these situations, right? Some situations, they just are what they are, but are you able to make the best of it? Have you said, okay, I was with woman A, we broke up, I sort of cared for that until the relationship, I was able to meet woman B, and maybe I met woman 1, 2, and 3 in between those times, and I had to kind of let them know, like, I'm not really available for what you want because my ex isn't going to be a good co-parent at this point. She's just not. She's a hater and she's a problem, right? And so now you can't start another family, because what happens is woman A and woman B, what you want is that they're getting along and facilitating a relationship between the two sets of children that you have. But if either woman A or woman B are not mature enough to do that, then are you man enough to quell your desires in order to not get in that situation? Because the truth is, we're talking about fatherhood. We're talking about manhood. It's imperative that you are able to parent these children no matter what. You're able to parent your sons and your daughters regardless of if they're in two different households and regardless of if the mom is tripping. So you are responsible for that. Right? You can't just walk off and go, well, she's a hoe and an idiot, so I'm going to go ahead and get this other family and make it work there. And maybe the second lady's a wonderful lady, right? Maybe she is. Maybe she's the soulmate. I don't know the answer to that, but you still have prior responsibilities. And the least amount of time that you can spend at these households, right, the more your kids are going to suffer. So the idea is, are you able to consolidate the households best you can, right? Are you able to go, hey, we're going on a family trip. I'm taking all my kids from all the different households on this family trip. Are you able to do that? Are you able to, you got kids that are close in age, are they able to be on the same team, or is woman A tripping off woman B and you can't figure out how to mitigate those circumstances, right? The onus is on you to pick a good mate in the first place, or to avoid, best you can, having kids in the first place that are going to be detrimental to being able to, facilitate and foster these relationships. And so I think a lot of guys get in these situations and then it's like, yeah, it is her fault, right? And then that's the whole responsibility is on her. I'm going to go out here and do the next thing and move the way I want to move because I'm entitled to that. And the truth is you are entitled to that, but you're entitled to that. Your kids aren't entitled to you bouncing all over the place and not, thinking of them first before you start doing a whole bunch of other stuff. I think about kids of divorce. I have an older sister from my father, not from my mother, just from my father. And you think, she's the older sister. So for me, she was always sort of there. I didn't, she didn't take anything from me. But does she think I took something from her? You're having a relationship with your father, and then all of a sudden it's different. All of a sudden it has to be different. I'm too young to have known what went on, but I don't know what her thought process is about that. And then what if my father went and had a third family somewhere? Does she resent those kids? Does she now not get a car for her 16th birthday because he ain't got no money because the child support's going way out, into left field? I don't know the answer, but I do know that we can all agree that imaginary father is the archetype. The imaginary father is perfection, and we're striving to be that imaginary father. And then you got to think, would my imaginary father do this or do that? How would I feel as a child? I'm not worried about what other fathers are saying and doing. I'm worried about what I'm doing and what my ideal is doing and how that's affecting my children, how it's affecting the maximization of the time that I spend with my children, right? So think about it. I mean, imaginary dads are great. They're always so wonderful, so perfect. Hopefully you can get close to it. Hopefully you're checking in with your kid, trying to figure out what their imaginary dad is about. Anyway, good luck to you. Like I say all the time, got shirts. Represent Dad and Change, the podcast. It's a parenting podcast. Represent it. Go buy a shirt. Support us. We got navy and black with gold print. They're awesome. So soft. So soft. Humble North America, or you can get us on Instagram, Dad and Change, humblenorthamerica.com, Dad and Change at Instagram, Dad and Change at YouTube. We're also hooked up with the Dad Task Force, so you can find them. And all of our podcasts are coming through that RSF feed. So find us wherever you're looking, Dad and Change, and as always, be as positive as you can. Have a good day.
I carve them up and leave them hopeless, closest anybody come. I'm banging at it, they made me mad. I'm hanging atlas by his thumbs and overlays. I make the gases in the atmosphere. I appear to summon gods. Oddly ain't it, paint a picture with the blood up in the scripture.